Okay. Hello everyone. So this is Prabhakar and I am the founder of company called Unix and welcome to the first episode of our podcast channel which is Playbook. Today we have with us Alam who comes with 10 years of experience in sales, GTM, and he has also worked in companies like Freshwork and sold products maybe in SMB, mid-market and enterprise companies. Also, currently he is a founder and running his own AI startup. So before we dig deeper into what this conversation would be all about, like I just want Alam to give a quick introduction about yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, hey Prabhakar, thanks for having me on your first episode of the podcast. So, as you said, I have spent over a decade working in B2B sales, helping technology companies build their go-to-market strategies and close enterprise deals. So, my career started on the front line of sales, managing pipelines, speaking to the customers every day, and understanding how real buying decisions happen inside companies. So, over the time, the experience gave me a deeper interest in what to say, how products are positioned, how markets behave, and how companies actually scale the revenue. So, with that experience, today I'm building Showcase, a proof of work platform, allowing companies to evaluate talent based on execution rather than just resumes. So, in many ways, my journey has been what to say, like from selling products to understanding markets, and now to building something that tries to solve a real problem. So that's how my journey was. Yeah, this is a quick intro.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Alam, for sharing that quick introduction. So, Alam, I'll also tell you why we are doing this. So, the reason I started this podcast is like while building Unix, na, I have been like connecting with lot of founders, CEOs, and sales leaders. So while speaking with them, I tried to I understood there's a problem which exists in the market, especially companies who are in their early stages and companies who are trying to figure out their product market fit. Okay. They are struggling with the sales GTM execution, be it in terms of strategy building or execution. So all in all, th this is just an like a way to help these kind of companies using this medium. So all this is the basic intention of doing this podcast and everything. And thank you for joining as our first this partner over here. Okay. So let's
Yep.
dig deeper into the podcast, and I just want to start with if there's a company, okay, who is in their initial stages, how does defining an ICP is very important because there's a bigger TAM which exists in the market, be it from geography side, be it from different industry side. So what's your take on that?
Yeah. So as you rightly pointed out, defining the right ICP is extremely important, especially in the early stages of the business. So what happens is because when founders look at the market, they usually see a very large TAM. So that's how any founder looks at the market. The problem may exist across multiple industries, geographies, and different company sizes. On paper, it looks like everyone could be a potential customer. But the reality is that not everyone experiences the problem with the same intensity. So, some segments may find the idea very interesting, but only a few will actually feel the pain strongly enough to prioritize in solving it. So, that is the reason defining the ICP becomes critical. So, what it does is it helps you narrow down from a very broad market to a specific group of customers where the problem is the most urgent. So, as founders, when you identify that group, a few things starts becoming easier. Like your messaging becomes clear, your sales conversations becomes more relevant, and
Hmm.
your product decisions become more focused as well. So,
Right.
if you are lacking this clarity, like what to say, without that clarity, founders often end up trying speaking to too many different types of customers at the same time, and the product positioning becomes too diluted. That's a big red flag. So even if the overall market is large, different geographies, different segments, everything can happen. The real question for an early stage company is where is the pain strongest right now? So that
Okay.
is usually the best place to start building traction. So that's how you define your ICP.
And like, what do you think? Like, how do companies should do research and identify those pain? Because, like, if you see, right now with AI and everyone is like working and building a solution, right? But there exists something like, is this even a real problem to solve, right? Sometimes people are trying to solve or build a product in a space which doesn't even exist, right? So, what's your take on that?
Right. So this is a common problem for most of the founders. So founders see this in a specific way. Like, I have identified and that there is an idea which I have seen, and this idea excites me. So I have started building this. That's it. And also, as AI tools are, as you rightly said, like the AI tools are in play, I can literally build in couple of hours and couple of weeks than how it used to be before. So that's the mentality now the founders are being pushed to, so that they don't actually evaluate the market. So
Right,
which gives them a very what to say, the negative impact that's been created there. So like, if you are not aware of your market, if you are not aware of how to position your product, if you are not aware of what is the pain your product is going to solve for the customers, but you build based on your internal assumptions, you build based on your idea that excites you, that's not going to go anywhere. So that's something founders has to take, and they will have to first evaluate the market. For example, if you have an idea, you feel that that's going to make an impact, that's going to solve a pain for a customer. You just go talk to the first 50 potential customers that you think might go and start using your product. So that is
right,
the first step that as founders everyone has to do. Go talk to your users, understand what they are up to, and give them, if in case like as we discuss, we have a lot of AI tools that helps us building stuff prototypes within a couple of hours. So use
right,
that to systems and build some prototypes. You give that to the users, let them use it, give the feedback, closely monitor that, and then from that you see the response on how the market is behaving. So that would be the right point to start, rather than believing your self assumptions and start to build, which will take you.
right, Alan. Correctly mentioned, like testing the product that's as well as the idea, that's very important. But the question comes into picture how to reach out to this initial set of first 50 customers or maybe first early users even to test your product, right? That's because like everyone has a different strategy and people are also skeptical about trying something new, right? They have a system in place, okay, and they don't want to make changes in their existing system. So how to convince these kind of people to just try and use our product? And all in all, the question would be like how to get onboarded the first initial set of customers over here. What do you think?
Right. So that's where the differentiating factor of your product comes in place. So when you say that if someone uses product A and I am building product B, which is the exact replica of product A, and you find out that potentially customers to start using it, it's like they are already using product A, which is completely solving their pain point, and they are very well accustomed to it, and they are like completely okay with it, and they don't want to again go through the entire journey of evaluation. So now, what is that differentiating thing, or what is that additional thing that you are bringing on your product, which is going to furthermore ease the pain whatever they are currently having, right?
Okay,
So that is the prime differentiator when you start, building something. But
makes
even
sense.
after doing that, you will face a lot of rejections in terms of getting your first set of users. That is
Okay,
because you are going to you are just disrupting what they are already doing. You are just giving them an additional burden of trying your product. Why do I have to try your product when I am already using a product similar to this?
makes sense.
So the way you will have to reach out to them is like the how you will have to clearly position your product on how
Okay,
your product is better than the existing one, how your product is better, not in terms of features. Features comes last. Your product
right,
positioning is all about the pain problem solving. So how
right,
better are you solving the problem? Because
right,
if you
right,
are going to talk only about the features on like your product A has 10 features, my product B has 15 features, that doesn't make sense. So that
right,
can just excite you as a founder, but not the customer. So
right,
that's when like you will have to bring your differentiation factor, and you will have to position it in a way that you are going to solve the pain much easier than how the existing product solves. So that's once you position that properly, I don't think there will be any issue for any of the customer to actually start using your product.
Yeah, completely makes sense. I have also seen, to be adding to your point, early stage founders who are building for the first time, they like when they reach out to people, they focus more on this feature list. We are this will solve that. But like if you understand we understand sales and everything, it's all about the outcomes which comes into picture, right? So this is a major bottleneck and the differentiator factor, like which early stage founders like get like hard to like they struggle to figure out that stuff, right?
No, no, that's true. Like when you just talk about this features part, you think that as a founder, like you think like that product has a lot more features which can do 10 other things. But as a customer, my pain is like just do this A to B.
Right,
That's it. Move my thing from A to B. So
right,
when my focus is fully on doing that, you are giving me a kind of a vitamin. It's not a painkiller. So I don't need
right,
a vitamin as of now.
right.
So that's when you will have to understand the market and you'll have to sell accordingly.
Makes sense, makes sense. So, Alam, like, what according to you would be like if a company or like a startup wants to go from zero to one, okay, what do you think would be the right strategy in the current existing market? Because like since there are a lot of competition which have been in the like market, okay, and AI, it's if you understand, like it's disrupting the every segment, right? So what would be a typical zero to one journey or like a typical GTM strategy which you think would be relevant in the existing market?
Okay, so just to before answering this question, I can very well relate this because I have been into those sites where I have scaled companies from pre-revenue to more than 1 million ARR. So
Okay.
I was been like fortunate to experience that side of the journey. So what I learned from that journey is like I would say early stage is much less about sophisticated strategy, and it's more about understanding the market deeply. So in the beginning, the biggest difficulty is simply getting the first few customers to trust you, right? This is a very early stage. Your product is still evolving. Your brand is unknown, and customers are naturally cautious, right? So why do you want to try your product? So a lot of early work involves speaking to potential customers, understanding their pain, and refining how you position the product. But when it comes to building the sales cycle, what you can do is one thing that helped me when I was doing that. It's very simple in the early days. Like instead of designing a complex sales process, we focused on very few basic steps. Like,
Okay.
the first is like identify the right type of companies where the problem was clearly visible. And once you identify that, the second step is have a very direct conversation with the decision makers of this company to understand their needs. So don't talk to the influencers, don't talk to the people who don't feel that pain. Talk to the decision makers to understand that. Okay. And then
Right.
the third point is show how the product could solve a specific problem rather than trying to present every feature, as I discussed before. So this is
Right.
the three important step which I did when I was scaling, from pre-revenue to 1 million.
Okay.
This will actually it's a direct approach. You need not have
Okay.
any kind of a complex sales cycle, any complex process and all. And
Okay.
another important lesson was that in the early stage, what to say, feedback from customers is extremely valuable. So many of our product improvements came directly from those early conversations. So as the
Okay.
company started getting traction and the revenue began to grow, the strategy gradually became more structured. So initially it was direct conversation, then it became structured. So we started defining the clearer ICP segments, refining the messaging, and building a more repeatable sales process. Once we saw the revenue and the traction, until then it was like
Okay.
direct talking to the customers.
Got it. But like, if you know the different companies target different segment, right? Maybe some target SMBs, some target mid-market enterprises or enterprise companies, right? And every like this enterprise, be it SMB or mid-market, have a different way to we have to reach out to these people. The sales cycle differs, right? So what do you have in mind? Like if a company, say A, who is reaching out to say SMBs or mid-market company, what should their strategy be? Or company B, who is just reaching out or building a product only for enterprise companies? Because you mentioned earlier as well, this influencer directly reaching out to people and like asking their feedback. But even if enterprise companies, this compliance or these kind of stuff also come into picture because people are skeptical to onboard a new tool over there. So what do you think that like a GTM strategy would be if you're targeting specifically SMB mid-market or maybe an enterprise companies? What do you think?
Yeah. So when you said like company A is targeting SMB or mid market and company B is targeting enterprise, that's actually a very interesting comparison because what happens is even though both companies may be selling software, the go-to-market motion becomes completely different for both the companies. So the company A, which is focusing on SMB and mid market, their focus is usually speed and volume. But the enterprise, it's more about trust and alignment. Okay.
Right.
So SMBs tend to have shorter decision cycles, as you already know. So often you're speaking directly to someone who can make or heavily influence the decision, which is in SMB, maybe a founder, a department head, or a team leader. So the strategy usually revolves around identifying the right companies quickly, reaching out to them through outbound channels, showing the value of the product, and moving towards a decision very fast. So this is
Okay.
like the way to approach SMB. And when it comes to the company B, as you said, selling to enterprise, as I already said, it's all about trust and alignment with multiple stakeholders here. Because the
Right.
person you speak with in enterprise is rarely the final decision maker. You might need to
Right.
interact with business teams, IT team, procurement team, sometimes
Right.
legal, sometimes compliance. So everyone comes in place. Everyone have their own decisions in enterprise. So because of that, what happens is the sales cycle becomes longer and the strategy focuses more on relationship building
Right.
rather than directly, talking about the product and the, pain points. So here you will have to build the relationship, understand the organization's priorities, and show how the product fits into their larger systems and workflows. So this is the way the company B has to approach to selling while selling to enterprise. Here
Okay.
also the sales process becomes more structured. So
Okay.
there are stages like what is it? Discovery, internal alignment, technical evaluation, the
Hmm.
security reviews, procurement. So everything comes here
Right.
in enterprise, right? So each
You have to
stage
convince
requires
everyone over there.
patience, of course, 100%. So every stage requires patience and careful consideration also.
Right.
So if you
Even
want
if
me
you
to
mess up
summarize,
with
I would say
anyone, like it's deal is gone, right?
yeah, that is gone. That is gone because everyone will have their own say, what to say, the control, the politics, everything will be there in enterprise.
Right.
So
Right.
tomorrow you sell the product, and out of 10 decision makers, two are against your product. However, the 7 or 8 people agreed, and the product is being purchased. Then there is some issue with their workflows
Yeah.
internally. That two people who started, rejected your project will become the kind of good guys over there in enterprise. They will
Okay.
know that they have that capacity to say that I knew this before.
Okay.
So it's always important to satisfy every single person who is like being in the position for their respective departments, as I said, like the procurement, the compliance, everyone.
Makes sense.
So the key for founders is to recognize early that these are almost two different go-to-market models. If you are
Okay.
trying to combine both motions at the same time, especially in the early stage, it often creates confusion and your
Hmm.
execution speed will almost go down, which is not at all good for early stage companies.
Right. So also like if you see there are a couple of companies which have come into picture in the market who if you have heard this news companies are reaching to million ARR in like say 4 months, 6 months, but some companies are also reaching this achieving this target million ARR maybe after 3 years or 4 years. That's also happening. So what do you think? Like what is the differentiating factor between all these companies which is in the market,
Yeah.
right? And because you have
So if you
also built a and been the part of a company and led sales team, and you have taken like the sales process from, I guess, 200K to 1 million ARR as well, right? So I guess you understand the daily life struggle, the bottlenecks, the strategy building, everything. What's your take on this?
No, when you talk about these kind of contrasting segment of companies, one is like like 4 million ARR in 1 year, and the other one is like 0 to 1 million in 3 years. So
Correct.
this is purely because if you could see, right, mostly in those segment who is like having that a huge ARR within short duration, mostly they are like product-led growth companies. So that PLG motion would have already been took in place, as because there is no proper what do you say, a complete onboarding steps needed. You don't need to sit with the customer during the onboarding part. So it's a kind of product-led growth where the customer can log in, start using the product. And here the only thing requires is the distribution part, which like where the various other channels in marketing comes in play for those kind of companies. On the
Right.
other hand, the second set of companies who again starts from zero, but here the problem is like this are a little complex where PLG will not suit them until at least until for a couple of years. So the no the customers have to be accustomed to the product. They will have to sit with their these companies has to sit with their customers while during onboarding, and they will have to understand their pain points. They will have to understand their use cases. They will have to set up the workflows accordingly. This is
Right.
something the companies have to do. They have to do a proper handholding. So in
Mhm.
this phase, that 0 to 4 million ARR in 6 months is not at all possible because it's purely outbound driven and
Mhm.
a kind of a hand holding motion.
Okay.
So that's what the difference is all about, and
And
that's every company has their own different kind of a product which solves for the
you
customer.
mentioned about this
So
distribution as
it's
well.
like it's not justified to compare both the companies saying that this company has took off to this kind of ARR, the other company is taking this many months. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, how important is to identify and crack that distribution in the current market?
So, when you talk about cracking the distribution, so there are two ways to position this. I mean, to say this. So, positioning and distribution are actually two of the most important factors in any of this startup. So, especially when there is already a competition in the market, which is almost always the case today, right? So, most of the products have competitions in the market, and many founders assume that if they build a slightly better product, the market will automatically notice. But
Right.
in reality, as we were into the field for more than a decade, we know that the markets don't work that way. In most industries, there are already multiple solutions solving similar problems. So this is where positioning becomes critical. So positioning is essentially about answering a simple question: why should a specific customer care about your product compared to the alternatives they already know, right? So if that positioning is not clear, customers
Hmm.
struggle to understand the difference between your product and the other tools in the market. And when that happens, decisions usually come down to price, which is not a great place to compete, because I also have a product, you also have a product, and only differentiator is like I give it for $100 and you give it for $75. So yeah, either way, like both are solving the same pain. So that I will choose your product as a customer. So that's not a healthy way to position it. So the
Right.
good positioning is like you will have this positioning actually helps you define who the product is really for, and for what specific problem it solves. And the third thing is why it is meaningfully different for from other options, whatever it's available.
Right.
So once that clarity, these 3 points, if you just give that clarity, the next challenge is distribution. Before distribution, the positioning has to be very clear. So if once
Right.
you are done with your positioning, now second you come to the distribution part.
Right.
So you can have a very well positioned product, but if the right customers actually don't discover your product, the growth becomes very slow.
Right.
So that's where the distribution comes in play. So maybe distribution can take many forms, like your outbound sales. You can do it, partnerships, communities. product-led growth, as I discussed before.
Correct.
So these can all take distribution, okay, it's helpful for distribution, but the key is you will have to ensure that your product consistently reaches the people who actually experience the problem you're solving,
Right.
right? That is very much important in distribution. So in many ways, you could say your success will come from the combination of these two things, which is like positioning helps customers understand why your product matters, and distribution ensures that the right customers actually find it.
Right.
Maybe I can also put in this way: without positioning, your product becomes another option in the market,
Hmm.
and without distribution, even a great product can remain invisible. So
Completely
that's
understand.
the difference you will have to first understand as a founder with respect to positioning and distribution.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. So also like in the initial days of building, there are lot of channels which people can like use as a sales process, be it from outbound, be it inbound. As you mentioned, this selling through community of partnerships, directly reaching out to people, maybe like through some contact. So what do you think like would be a good set of strategy in the initial and early stages? Because this
So in the
outbound and
early
inbound,
stages,
it's
yeah,
a like a very debatable topic, right?
yeah, of course. So, people who doesn't know about sales, maybe it's a debatable topic, but for people who already knew what sales is about, that's a very crystal clear topic, I would say.
Okay,
So, in the very beginning, I strongly believe the sales should be founder led. Okay.
okay,
And the reason is like the early stages, sales is not just about closing the deals. It's actually about your learning from the market,
okay,
right? So when you as a founder directly talk with customers, you understand things like why the customer is interested, what problem they are trying to solve, and what is the objections, what is the rejections. So all those things as a founder you can just get to know. That's a very extremely valuable insight for you as a founder, which would
yeah,
help you shape your product. This is the first sign, and then comes your outbound or inbound debate.
correct,
So when you talk about this outbound versus inbound, the early stage is about usually becoming, I mean, for early stage, outbound usually becomes the primary approach. And the reason is because you need not have to spend a lot on your brand awareness, your content, your SEO, your distribution, because that's what inbound is for. Inbound
correct,
requires your brand awareness. Inbound requires your content to be crystal clear. Inbound requires your SEO to be very good. So which typically takes time to build. So
correct,
as a early stage company, you won't have enough time to do all these things, set your inbound and then start your onboarding customers.
correct,
But on the other hand, outbound allows founders to proactively reach the exact type of customers they want to speak with and get immediate feedback.
right,
So it doesn't have to be very much complicated and all. Sometimes it's just targeted outreach, conversations, demos, learning from those interactions. So that is more than enough. So that's what I would say. Like outbound is most preferred for early stage companies. Once you have these channels figured out, once you have the kind of enough inflow, then you can actually start looking at the inbound ways of, say, I already said the brand awareness, content, everything. You can just set it up, because
okay,
that is also a very important channel for you to scale. Because only with outbound you can't scale that much. So
right,
in order to scale, you need inbound as a channel, but that comes after outbound.
correct. And what do you think? Like, how important is like for a company to identify that sweet spot in terms of pricing model over here? Like because like companies, a product can be sold at $100 or a product can be sold at $1,000, right? It's how like difficult it's to find that sweet spot over here. What do you think?
Uh,
Over here.
Yeah, 100%. So pricing is, actually plays a very important role in the early days, but not just from a revenue perspective. I'm talking about in the beginning, pricing is also a validation signal. It's not about only making profits. So when you are starting out, many founders think about, pricing mainly as a way to maximize their revenue. But early on, the most important question is, are customers willing to pay at all? Okay, that is the first
Correct.
validation signal you'll have to look at. So if someone is willing to pay for the product, even if the price is not perfect, that's a strong signal that the problem you're solving is actually meaningful for them. Okay, that
Okay.
signals more than enough for you to now come to a conclusion that your product is working. Now it's all about fixing the strategy. So
Correct.
another thing founders often struggle with is trying to find a perfect price too early. So in reality, pricing evolves as the company learns more about the market. Like in the early
Right.
stage, it's usually better to keep pricing simple and flexible. So while focusing on understanding how customers perceive the value of the product. But maybe if I can put it in other words, your sales conversations are very useful here. Okay. So whenever you talk as a founder, you talk to your customers, these three things you will have to actually look out. And customers often reveal these things like what currently they are spending to solve the problem, whatever they are facing. Okay.
Okay.
There must be some sort of budget the customer is already spending that you will have
Correct.
to understand. And the second thing is you'll have to understand what alternatives they are currently evaluating. And the third thing is you'll have to understand how important the problem is for their business. So
Okay.
once you are done with these insights, you can gradually refine their pricing strategy. Okay,
But
so that's how
any
you'll
like
have to.
way we can
Yeah,
define these, identify these kind of things, be it if they are evaluating product or if they are like in discussion, they want to buy this. How usually people find these kind of intel information?
you'll have to talk to them. You'll have to talk to
Right.
them very frequently. You'll have to what to say. You'll have to check with them very frequently on how your product is going to help them, or if in case you are giving their product to them at X cost, will that be justified for them? So you'll have to not only talk to one customer and two customer, you'll have to talk with multiple customers into similar segment
Correct.
so that you will get a kind of varied perspective from each of the customer, and that varied perspective will help you figure out your pricing strategy. Because
Okay.
if you are talking to one or two guys and those guys say that $100 more than enough for your product to start using, uh,
Yeah.
that maybe the third or fourth guy will say like they are already spending $300 for a product similar to yours. So that's when you get to know like your product is worth that one. So that's how like you will have to actually come up to the pricing strategy. Talk a lot to your customers. That's the
Right.
one one piece of advice I would say.
Got it. Got it, Al. If you see this AI coming into sales and marketing, there are people who are supporting it and there are people who are against it. They like people have opinions, sales can't be automated with AI. And some people like have this workflow automation tool something that they are building like LLM wrapper in order to just automate the sales process. What's your take in this?
So my take is like it's going to become a massive leverage layer, but it won't replace the fundamentals because
Okay.
for a long time we know that sales and marketing teams spent a lot of time on manual work, researching accounts, finding contacts, writing outreach messages, scheduling follow-ups. So
Right.
everything is a kind of a mundane task. And
Right.
AI as it came into place, it's now starting to automate many of those activities. As I said, like account research, lead sourcing, everything can be automated currently. So this leverage can actually this is something you have to look at this way. This not like AI is just automating and helping you. It's like AI is freeing up your time for actual sales and marketing teams to focus on
Correct.
higher value activities. So like you're understanding the customer situation, building the relationships, navigating
Right.
complex buying decisions, which all AI can't do. AI tools can't do that.
Right. Right.
That's where the human thing comes in place. And once you automate all these mundane tasks using tools, you get
Hmm.
a lot of time doing that. And
Got
another important thing you will have to remember is that AI doesn't automatically create demand. Okay, it only
it. Right.
amplifies the strategy you already have. If your
Right.
strategy is unclear, I mean, if your messaging is unclear, if your ICP is poorly defined, once you implement AI tools, it won't fix that. It will just automate your ineffective outreach at a larger scale, which is going to be a
Right.
huge risk for your business. So that's why I say, like, before implementing AI tools, also, it's very important for you to actually fix your, the strategy, like fix your messaging, fix your ICP. So these are like, your AI tools can't do. You do it by talking to your customers a lot. And then once you have that exact strategy and the exact ICP how you are going to do that. Now it's time for you to implement the tools, because as in current market, if you are not implementing the tools, you are actually doing the same task again and again, which AI can actually help you in automating it. So that's what you will have
Correct.
to understand, and use those AI tools in an effective way.
Right, right. Yeah, Alam. So these are the questions which I had in mind. Thank you so much for taking your time and just like helping our audience with all sort of information with your experience. Any founders, CEOs who are listening this, they can surely reach out to Alam. Like maybe I'll add his LinkedIn profile over here as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Alam, for like
Yeah,
bearing with us and
thank you,
just
Prabhakar,
and
for
be our
yeah,
first
thanks for having
first.
me. Yes,
Sure,
yes, yes.
sure. I guess
Thanks for
maybe
having
we
me as
will.
the first guest. Yeah, all the best on your entrepreneur journey.
Thank you so much, Alam, and all the best for your journey as well as for your startup
Yeah, yeah. Thank
showcase.
you. Bye bye.